Ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, when you think of music, what is the very first thought that pops into your head? Now, for a lot of us, the very first thing that pops into our head is our favorite song. Like for me, it's this song called Fukai Mori by Dua's Infinity. Yet, for some reason, the mainstream media seems to view music as a homicidal menace. School shootings, some guy shooting a police officer, or some guy shooting someone at a mall have all at some point or another been blamed on music. Why do you think this is? Let's investigate just a little. It's been proven that music and other forms of media have an effect on people. So it could be music, it could be video games, it could be paintings, movies, or even a Bible. So it is no longer a question of if they have an effect. The question now is how does it affect people? And do we let the effects control our actions, or do we ourselves have control over our own actions? If we stab someone at a supermarket, should we be allowed to get off scot-free just because we were listening to a rock song where they made a single reference to stabbing someone and we got pumped up while standing in the checkout line? Should we be released from police custody after a hit and run because we were listening to a rap song that had us feeling like we were thugs and we thought we could get away with it? If we come to your house and punch you in the face, should we be allowed to walk away with no consequences for what we have done just because we played Saints Row right before we came to your house? If we steal your car, should you let it go just because we were playing Grand Theft Auto right before this occurred? If we walked into a hospital and started chopping the heads off of babies just because we saw that in a movie once, should we be safe from prosecution? If we illegally detain people with bat-themed gizmos, should we get a free pass just because we saw that in comic books, movies, and or video games? No. What do you mean, no? According to the news, it's not our fault. It's the fault of violent video games, movies, books, or a genre of music. Oh, so you're saying that we should take responsibility for our own actions? Well, that's just preposterous. I saw a man eat a Big Mac at McDonald's, and he started shooting people immediately after. So that means it was the burger's fault that he did that, right? Everything is blamed on rap. I wonder why just rap? What about rock and roll? You know what I'm saying? Jazz, country. They say everybody must listen to rap, I guess. When Anthony Forte said this back in 1996, I doubt he was thinking about the fact that the other genre of music he mentioned, as well as the ones he didn't mention, had also been blamed for similar stuff. Music is an easy target, as people can easily blame a genre of music that they deem unworthy or to not be real music for violent crime or other issues on this planet. As for some reason, there will always be others who agree with them. In the same way People will try to blame a certain race or ethnicity, species, country, or gender for everything wrong on this planet. And at the same time, try to pretend like the things that they like are the be all end all of perfection. Let's delve let's delve slightly into the way music could work. According to an article by Time.com's Melissa Locker, science has shown that when children learn to play music, their brains begin to hear and process sounds that they couldn't otherwise hear. This helps them develop neurophysiological distinction between certain sounds that can aid in literacy, which can translate into improved academic results for kids. Okay. While this is definitely an excellent reason for people to want their children to get into music at an early age, the majority of parents on this planet have absolutely no idea about this. When they take little Mary, Mikey, Jamie, Dilbert, Judy, Franklin, whatever, and enroll them into a music class, or just randomly buy them a musical instrument. A lot of parents just think it's something to keep the kids out of their hair for a few hours. There are also people who believe that any music played by children is just noise or racket. Now, please keep in mind that at the moment, this quote is only referring to children actually playing instruments, as am I, and not just pressing a button on an MP3 player or on a computer. Many professional musicians started out just playing instruments for fun. Most of their parents didn't really think it would lead anywhere. In the same way, many professional athletes used to play sports for fun. And also in the same way, people used to view those sports. If your mother is a psychiatrist, of course she's going to try to analyze everything you do. And statistically speaking, most musicians don't ever become famous. And even fewer remain famous once they finally do become famous. So of course, she would try to persuade you to look for another line of work. If your father owns a bakery, he wants you to take over the family business. He would likely, even without knowing the statistical improbability of you becoming famous with music, would try to guide you down that path, especially if he believes you're very good at being a baker. If both of your parents are cops, lawyers, judges, or even career criminals, then they would likely want you to follow in their footsteps. Though I would hope that they would want more for you, or at least want you to make your own decisions. There are other ways that music can have an effect on the brain. Like according to an article by CNN.com's Elizabeth Landau, while referring to studies done by Daniel Levitin or a number of his students, one of those ways could be relieving stress when preparing for surgery. In one study reviewed, researchers studied patients who were about to undergo surgery. Patients were randomly assigned to either listen to music or take anti-anxiety drugs. Scientists tracked patients' ratings of their own anxiety as well as the levels of the stress hormone cortisol. The results: the patients who listened to the music had less anxiety and lower cortisol than people who took the drugs. I believe this is subjective, as it would most likely depend heavily not only on the kind of music and the specificity of the music, but also the individual who was listening. However, I also believe that if the music, regardless of the genre, the patients are listening to has a calming effect on them, it would help them to relax more, making them have less stress. Does this also mean that the music could have the opposite effect? Yes. Just like if you're preparing to go on a plane and you watch a movie where a plane crashes or see a news report about planes crashing, it may turn your stress meter up to 12. However, would it make you go on a murderous rampage? No. It may convince you that getting the surgery isn't a good idea, or that getting on that plane isn't a good idea, so to speak. But in no way would it put a weapon in your hand or force you to kill anyone or anything. Please keep in mind that this quote and my comments accompanying it were referring to patients listening to music as opposed to playing it themselves. Again, I bring the whole man eating a Big Mac at McDonald's thing into the conversation. If I stated that as being fact, you would likely laugh at me and think I was quite ludicrous or, or crazy. Yet the news quite often tries to absolve people of their actions by blaming it on something else. Look, it's very easy to play the blame game. I could jump on my bed and then, after falling off hurting myself, blame it on the bed for not being a larger bed. I could get drunk, steal a car, and kill up a whole lot of people, then blame it all on the alcohol. I could go outside right now and kick the neighbor's dogs and blame it on the dogs barking. But would any of the blaming that I be doing be grounds to absolve me of any wrongdoing? Didn't think so. So then, why allow the news media or anyone or anything else to do that? In closing, I leave you with a simple question. At what point does personal responsibility become a factor? Thank you for your time.